Do you know, the Bonsai Retreat has absolutely loads and loads of English oak. In fact, I've got well over 40 or 50 of them. And yet, when I look back over my videos, I practically never ever show them. And there's a reason for that. But if you want to find out what that reason is, see this one repotted, and to see what I do with this very, very shallow oak forest. And also, what I did think we'd do is share with you how indeed this 4-foot oak is getting on. I've now moved it from the shady section which it was in all last year, and it's in a prime spot where it's going to get, hopefully, sun 70 to 80% of the day. I think that's going to make a difference, and in fact already got loads and loads of buds opening up. Got a dead branch here, shame, and also I did a load of wiring over the winter. I'm sure it featured in one of my videos just briefly, but I need to keep an eye on that. And hopefully this one also will develop slowly, but very, very well in the next few years. So lots of oaky things to talk about and show. And if you like oak and you've got any yourself, this is definitely going to be something worth watching. Hi, it's Xavier, welcome to my Bonsai Retreat, and yep, you've guessed right, finally we're going to hit the oaks. We're in the last week of April, and I've always said to you the oaks are normally the last ones I touch. If I have a look at this, the buds are literally just starting to swell, whereas in some of the others we've actually got a little bit of leaf development on some of them, or on others the buds are just starting to swell up as well. I have repotted oaks right through into the first week in May with the leaves fully opened up. Obviously not great big hoof print leaves, but still quite small, but there's not a problem with that. I haven't got a lot to repot. I do though need to get this one out of the bucket and repot a couple of the forest trees, and perhaps have a look at one or two that I think you'll enjoy. The biggest thing about oak though, and why you don't see them feature, is despite what I originally thought when I first started getting them, they do seem to grow quite slowly when they're in a controlled environment like this and they can't put that whacking great taproot down. So I'm finding that it's taking me a long time to get anything worth showing. But anyway, let's have a look at this one, get it out of the pot, have a look and see what the roots are looking like, and decide exactly what we're going to do with it next. Is that a message for one of you? I better go and have a look and see what it was. Oh, and for those of you who are saying, Zav, what about the oak ends? That is going to feature in a future video when the leaves are all out. But that's definitely going to be worth watching. In fact, if you want to see my Lord of the Rings inspired oak end forests and stuff like that, then now, great time to subscribe, bell notifications, ding, all that sort of happy thummy stuff. Helps me, helps the channel, and it makes sure that people who want to know more about bonsai from me get alerted through the YouTube notification. Bit wordy, wasn't it? Anyway, let's do some bonsai, shall we? Looks like the sun's about to come out and blow my head up, so I don't think it's wired in. Should just pull out. So let's pull this apart and let's see what sort of root development we've had in the last 3 years. Certainly it held together nicely, which is always positive, and now I definitely need to get a hat. Hopefully we've managed to develop a reasonable radial style from this. If I remember rightly, this would have had very few, if any, roots. Now I've clearly done the first stage in this, the first step on recovery. The soil I've used, I would imagine, has been of benefit. Gosh, this is heavy. We've still got some original mud and muck closer in, but obviously what I'm looking at is what's been developing out here. And we've got some fine roots developing, that's for sure. And as I say, you've seen loads of repot videos for 2025. So let's have a look and see what we'll get left with when you come back. That all came away quite easily actually, and what we've got here, I mean, there's a lot to do up there, let's ignore that for now. We've got some very solid roots here, this great big hunky one. It'd be nice to get rid of that at some point, or indeed potentially this one up here. But for now, I think we're going to have to use this because of the angle. That's going to give that an anchor point. Again, it gives that illusion of a nice wide base. So I might apply some wire to this, but this has a long way to go. But the first thing about this as a Yamadori was trying to establish a fairly radial and symmetrical root base. That's been done. Took a couple of years, so that's a big tick. Next thing you know, we've now got to put this into something to develop it further. I don't want it to be too deep because I don't want the roots to be going downwards. So keep these moist, but I need to have a look into something to develop it in. Ideally, actually, would be a wooden box. Okay, well, I've had a think about it, and I haven't got the material to make a box, but I've got this blue vegetable container, plastic vegetable container, which I used obviously when I was doing all my Japanese maple. Straightforward bit of MDF in the bottom. That's going to provide the base that I want to stop stuff sliding out. Now, it's got big holes on it, and I think they're at least a millimetre. Now, I've got some lacquer that I reckon will fill that gap nicely. But before I put that in, should we just have a look and see how the root base sits on it? Because it is an ideal opportunity to spread those all out. You can see from there, there's a good spread of roots, but actually what I need them to do is to actually create nice compact root system, but I need it to be in closer, so I'm just going to be trimming with a sharp set of shears away, because what I want to do is encourage more roots from closer in. The best way to do that is to obviously cut away all these extra long unwanted roots. That's okay, and then each time I do this I will cut further and further in so it's closer. Now I think, well, that one cooks all the way under, so I'm not willing to cut it yet. I need to make sure those roots stay down. Big heavy one there. But again, these long stragglies, we don't need those. So I will continue cutting these so that I can continue to promote, oh, we don't want that one up there, or maybe we do, finer, closer net of roots. And I will, as I say, just work my way around until I'm happy with what we've got. All we need now is to get this great big, so that looks like 1 to 2 centimetre lacquer, which will fill those holes. The other advantage about making sure we've got these bigger balls around the sides is it stops that that piece of wood from moving around. Now I've got my 4 to 5 millimetre standard soil. Now clearly, for those the astute of you, you'll know that those holes are also going to be a bit of an issue. So I'm going to mound up the centre and then use that lacquer around the outside. Didn't think of that, perhaps should have used some netting. Okay, so I've got a little mound on there. I'll just make sure all the outward roots are in the direction I want them. Now what I need to do is obviously pack central core. That's covering all the roots now, obviously, because I've got these blank holes, these holes on the side. Let's use the lacquer as a bridge, as a wall. And then what I need to do is just work all this stuff in around here, knowing that I want to get rid of all the air pockets. If you ever find yourself in the same position, don't use one of these. Go and make yourself up a little wooden box, which is what would have been the easiest thing to do. I always make things difficult in the bonsai retreat. Results will still be the same, but I wouldn't have had to use this lacquer otherwise. Okay, well there it is, and yeah, I wish I'd used a box, but I was thinking hard about whether I actually wire this up more up there or what, but actually what I've recognised is that's a really good angle, and when you look at it with the root base, they go together, so that's pretty well going to be the potting angle. What I'm needing is all this to really send out loads of big shoots, so the tree actually, I might just wire those two up a little bit. This I could do with this not using all the energy. I want these to be lower branches. So, you know, this was a bit of free material that I managed to pick up basically in my favourite hunting ground. So the truth is, if I'm not going to be looking at this being part of the structure, because if I try and do that, you get these big bends that really I don't like the look of. It's the same on that side. The only way that works if I actually get rid of all of this. But I think I'm in for the long haul on this one. If that's the case, I'm probably, looking where that comes, looking at getting rid of all of that. And I know there'll be people out there going, no! But, you know, it's a long-term project. So we'll get rid of all that. I certainly want to reduce and minimise the risk of dieback. So let's fully seal that in. As they stand, they're quite wide apart. What I want to do is bring them in more on a sort of 35-40 degree angle, perhaps pointing downwards. And because it's oak, there's absolutely tons of buds all the way along this. And with this one, we'll put that one a little bit, maybe a little bit further up, so that we can just get a slight angle there. And I know again with oaks there'll be buds here, there'll be buds from here. The other good thing about this is we've actually got a pretty powerful root system that only actually has to supply quite a limited branch. So that should bode well. We should get lots of decent shoots. Let me put the wire on, position it, and then we'll move on to another little fun thing with oak. So I've just put some wire on there, and as you've seen, the opportunities for budding along all that length is quite good. So I may be looking at just doing an initial bend close in here. Again, we bend in the direction of the coils. So it shouldn't be that actual difficult. And with all these things, it's surprisingly how difficult it is to stop from mimicking or paralleling what you've done on one to the other. So that'll do for now. We've got nice buds that are going to be going slightly up, and hopefully we'll start getting shoots off the side as this develops. I want to do the same roughly with this. I want to be a little bit careful. I don't actually want to risk breaking. Just a little bit there, that's all I'm doing. I want to try and get that one out to the back. And slightly downwards actually. There we go. So I've got a very, very rough shape, and as I keep saying with oak, the best thing about them is they're like Chinese elms in many ways. The bud all the way along, so if you cut these back quite hard in the late winter, or probably in the autumn once the leaves have dropped, they'll establish buds that are a lot further back on these. Well, I really quite like that. Didn't plan it to begin with, but you tell me what you think. What I will say, feed it, again protect it from the harsh sun until we've got lots of decent branch growth, and then yeah, I think this could be quite good actually. Now the next thing I'm going to do is, I've got this that's been in a really nice Dawn Isaac ceramic. It hasn't been out of this for 3 years. I need to have a look and see what the roots are looking like on this. Most of these, the buds still haven't opened up, but I'm very aware that I've actually lost quite a few oaks that are in shallow pots. And again, this one, I threw a couple of odd ones in there, and I think 1, 2, 3, 4, add on to that, make 11. Let's make a nice 11 tree forest. So what I'll do is hopefully that'll come out as one group. I'll pull these all out and then have a look and see what I can put them in. We've got a host of pots to choose from though. and hopefully I should be able to get it out of this this ceramic without too much trouble. What I don't want to do is, obviously it's got a almost like a belly lip on it, so I'm going to have roots under there. I've got to be careful, I don't want to break the ceramic. Hopefully, oh, comes out in one nice easy piece. Not a lot of roots under there, which explains why there probably hasn't been that much growth. I want to try and keep that together, and then I've got the other 4 trees out. Just get rid of the weeds and stuff like that. So let's just get rid of some of these roots. I think this is going to break across there. I actually want to keep that moss that I can see on there. And I think this is really going to benefit. You can see in there, there's definitely some root structure going there. But I think that needs a lot more room, so let's open it up just a little bit. And as I say, over the last 3 years I haven't seen brilliant growth off it. You know, you look at this, got this lovely leaf structure on there, very, very delicate and small. Let's get rid of those weeds. And it looks like I was using, that was kitty litter, definitely kitty litter in there. So there we go, got some nice long roots there. And there isn't a lot underneath, so to keep this together I have to be a little bit careful how I do this. Obviously, while we've got big long lengths like this, we are not going to get that tight network of roots that we want, so we do need to shorten those off. Again here. So I'm just going to go around and shorten off some of these longer. Have a long one here. Some dead ones, we'll get rid of them. There we go, that'll do for now. Right, so where are we going to put this? Well, I'm glad you asked. Ta-da! Yep, the custom-made Dawn Isaac ceramic that did house my old man larch. All we need to do, layer of soil in the bottom. Oops, just noticed a hole I didn't cover. Let's go and cover all the holes first, shall we? Okay, take 2. Got the soil in there. Let's see. Add in a bucket of water. Okay. So the key is to work out how to add these 2. So we've got a height difference on that one. I don't really want to break this up if I can avoid it. So that goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm not sure this big one, unless it sits at the back somehow. No, I'm not sure. Not even sure about this one, to be honest. Sometimes it's lovely if you can get the easy way and just throw them all in and it all fits in nicely. Other times, 2 different sets of trees, it just doesn't work that way. Let me have a jiggle and come back when I've found something I like. Oh, you're back, are you? Well, it took me 20 minutes in the end. I did have to split them apart. We put these 2 big ones, I cut them down a little bit, and now they're, well, I don't know, I think it worked. It really is a mixed forest in terms of they're not next to each other. There's no even rows. We've got some bigger trees close to each other and lots of different sort of movement. Got the odd straight one here, and mainly it's deeper. I've got 2 forests that on their own didn't quite work. Now hopefully I've got 1 forest, more trees, but I think a much better chance of survival and a much better chance of looking convincing, which is truthfully what the last few years have been all about for me at the Bonsai Retreat. And ultimately there'll be people out there who'll say, but that doesn't look real, because ultimately our hobby is all about our eyes and how we perceive things. and I'm really happy with how this is going. So now we've got the laborious task of fixing these in, and you've probably guessed that they're no big root structures, they are jammed in there, there's nothing holding them down. So there you go. I have done a little bit of trimming back on some of these branches. These ones brought them back, put a little bit of sealant on them. The ones that have got leaves on, I'm going to leave those. I want the canopy to develop. But the thing with oak is before they open up, if you, again, it's a bit like you would do with any deciduous, if you cut back to the buds that you actually want to develop, then that's normally what happens. Or you wait for the big ones to open up, give it another 6 weeks, and then our post-flush hardened pruning, we remove all that stuff back to get the lower buds to react. So I've got a few here. I love the oaks when they're this sort of size, and I'll be watching this with quite a bit of interest actually. I definitely like how it's all come together, and it's definitely better than it was, which has got to be a win. This plus another 20-30 others, literally when I go to Avalon Nursery where I do my digs, and the owner of that basically grows only straight oaks. Anything that's bent or wonky, he pulls out or undercuts and just leaves them at the side. And I literally 4 years ago went along with a plastic bag and just picked them up off the ground, and a lot of them look dead, but it's amazing the resilience of oak. And I've got these, they've got some incredible roots. I love this whole sort of exposed roots here on this particular oak. Potting angle's all wrong, so I imagine it's going to be somewhere in there. And really it's a pruning issue rather than anything else. It's nice and healthy, and all I really need to do is cases here where we've got threes. I could actually start adding some wire, reducing stuff back, and I think the only reason I don't is because about this sort of time the maples are starting to go, hey, what about me? If I look at this branch here, that's coming out too far, so let's take it right back to there. I don't really want to wire because with oak they have so many buds, you don't necessarily need to wire in movement. What I am going to do is, well, it's a back one. I think really it's the upper one that's got to go. On this one here, we don't want the one that's going in towards, so we'll reduce that. And all I'm going to do is this basic method, that needs to be wired down probably. Right in close there. Like many of our deciduous, you don't want those unless you want to grow a new branch. Let's make sure the tree knows you don't want it, so we can get rid of stuff like this. But there's a clear issue here. We've got this big long branch, absolutely nothing on it. It won't grow anything from here while I've got that great big load of leaf mass at the end. So I've got to turn around and say to the tree, bud back better. So let's cut some of these. Cut some of these right back and see if we can tell this tree where we actually want our buds. We've got another one here where we've got 3 from the same point, and this is too far out. So the better way is to look probably in the autumn time. I'll let these grow out and then look in the autumn time maybe and aim for buds that are right back in here. To be fair, this is work that I should have got done and forgot. Again, we've got this great big long length here. It's never going to be any good. With this, I know what oaks are like. Generally, if you cut back like that, that will often promote either a bud back here or something a little bit here to send a bud out. I've got 3 on there, so let's just take the middle one out and see what happens. Take that one back to there. Actually, we'll take that one back to there. Now there's actually another trunk behind it, so I am going to do that. And because of the time of year, all of these I'm going to just put a bit of cut paste on. So what we don't want to do is actually make the tree die back deliberately because we've been lazy. These cuts are vulnerable to infections, and I want all the branches that are leafing out to actually continue to leaf out. But what I'm going to do in this case, I'm going to let this leaf out and then cut back to there. And you'll see there's lots of bits. If you've got oaks, you'll see there's lots and lots of opportunities to cut back to. But for now, I think we've got that into a much more manageable format. And then we've got another similar one here in this blue drum pot. Again, it's got some lovely primary branch work. I love it coming out. And for a Shohin, this is going to be, I think this will be pretty decent. But again, I mean, I've got lots of little bud out points coming out. And really, I think the classic thing that I can see here where it's quite happy to do is if you look in close here, as well as having a bud right in there, which is actually swelling. So I'm going to get rid of this here. But this is far too far out. I've actually got a swelling bud there and underneath as well. So I'm going to cut that to there. And again, same thing, follow the whole journey around. Here, we've actually got two buds coming out at basically a 30-degree angle. So that will be ideal. Probably a bit too far out, but for now I'm happy with that. Don't worry about this. And then we've got this great big long here. I'll leave that for now. Ideally on this branch here, we've got buds swelling here. That one there is also potentially a sweller. So let's just retard that one so we get those ones, and then probably late spring, early summer, I may try and cut back further and do that all the way around. I mean, overall you can have a lot of fun with oak, and so long the root mass is healthy and is in good free draining soil, it gives you a lot back. As I said before, right at the beginning, I do find them slower. They don't put on that that growth that you really want, and also the big thing with them, they really do suffer from powdery mildew. So keep an eye out on that. And as I say, I'll just keep going around and finding these opportunities. Yeah. But yeah, definitely an interesting tree, and as I say, I think a few more years it'll look pretty good. Do need to do a bit more work on that, but we'll perhaps show that in the wound healing episodes. So should we have a look at the third one then? And again, it's another nice chunky trunk. Shohin. Problem with this, that's a big long straight branch. It's got absolutely no movement. There's another one here, and really what I was hoping for is to see some bud points here, and there aren't actually there. So I'm waiting on this one a little bit, but you know, you can't fault. They've got this lovely trunk, and then we've got opportunities perhaps over here to develop a tree, and that's really the issue. I mean, I think I could actually wire this one. That could become the replacement for that, and I could actually accept that there's never going to be an answer to that. So why don't we just cut it off now? I'm going to leave a big stump there, as you might. That should quite happily cause something lower down here to bud out, because I can imagine that we could potentially have something much flatter out that way. Definitely need to add some wire onto that, and that will be slowly reduced over time. And really that's all I'm doing. I'm looking for those opportunities just to reduce some of this growing. I say they're problematic, but only so much as if you treat them as clip and grow, you can eventually create what it is you want. And the best of these is they've got brilliant little trunks. They're going to make great Shohins in time, and for me, they were free. So, shall I show you one that is a problem? Go on, I'll show you one that is a problem, and then we'll call it quits. Now go on, there you go, agree with me. That's a problem one. Great big bulbous area here. It's a nice thick trunk, and from a certain angle, potentially can be overcome. And then we've got this long, straight, straggly thing there. There's only one thing we can do with that, isn't there? Whack a bit of wire onto it. Front could be there actually. So really, all we want to do perhaps do something like that. Just give it a little bit of movement, and then really this just has to grow. I mean, it really needs to be feet, and we all know to get that, what we really ought to do is take it out of that and put it into a nursery bed, certainly with an oak or something like this. it needs lots and lots of space and room to grow. And that is going to take forever to heal. That's a great big cut. So, interesting. Don't know whether we want to run it straight or just perhaps a little bit more that way. And then let's bring that I don't know, maybe something like that. Hey, have a play. Tell you what, we'll see what this looks like in a couple of years' time, shall we? So I have to be honest, certainly in the UK, the good old English oak is absolutely brilliant for mucking about with bonsai. It takes a bit of time, and I think the hardest thing is actually, once you've recovered it from the ground, is actually establishing it in new soil and in a smaller pot. But once those roots are established, then these species of tree really do thrive and give you so many options. Look at this one. I mean, I've got 3 or 4 that are like this. Initially, great trunk. Could do with some branches lower down. The reality is I'm probably going to have to cut them right back. But that's for me to decide and you to think about. I've got so many more of these to do. But there you go. People have been asking for an episode on oaks. This is it. I think they're a wonderful tree, certainly for the UK, and I think they're very, very easy to manage as a beginner. The key, make sure you sort the roots out and give them time to recover. And if you pull them out, remember to get rid of the taproot and try to avoid keeping them damp. Damp soil for any recovered tree is a big no-no. So really, if you want to see a little bit more about oak, there is a 21 tree oak forest I put together for a very loyal subscriber, Susan. It's Susan's Wild Westwood. That's the video. You'll love it. Otherwise, enjoy spring, happy bonsai, and God bless. Cheers.